It's Monday nights, the way they ought to be, because WCW is back.
Rozzero Connection Podcast Network. Welcome into the Wrestling War Zone, Monday Night Wars podcast retrospective series. I am JT. That is Chad, as ever, my partner here. And of course, stay tuned because the last bit of this show will air during the commercials of the New Adventures of Robin Hood. Right after this, right like the last 15 minutes or so, you're going to have to switch to Robin Hood on their YouTube channel, and then we'll cut in there.
We're going to be live, though.
It is live, pal. We're live. Yeah,
live.
Yeah. Anyway, we're back. Hopefully everyone's enjoying us being in 1997. I know I am. Feels like a new day, breath of fresh air. And of course, this podcast is simulcast in both video and audio across our North-South Connection podcast network here on this YouTube channel video. You can like and subscribe and leave a comment, or you can go over and subscribe to any of our podcast apps that are out there. Just search North-South Connection if you prefer the audio version of this, and all of our content is everywhere. Most of it is simulcast. There is some video exclusive, some audio exclusive. So just subscribe to both or follow us on social media. You get all the updates you need. Chad, how is it going?
Going pretty good. Not a whole lot going on. Vacations are over. I've melted. It's 100 degrees when we're recording, so we're in the hotness of summer in 2023 as we're heating up on the Monday Night War. So good synergy here all around.
We are heating up. It's exciting. I really liked our last episode. We talked about 1997. I think personally is like one of the best years in North American wrestling as far as excitement goes.
Yep.
Especially with these two promotions going at it. ECW is really, at their probably like creative peak, I would say. I think there's good stuff later. Popularity peak is later, but I think in 97, early 97 is probably the peak of their popular or creativity, I should say, before they lose Raven and a few other guys and start to lean too much on other things. But here we're going to kick things off with Nitro this week, and it's a pretty famous Nitro. You heard our little riff off the top around Robin Hood. I think any fan that grew up in that era watching the Monday Night Wars knows of the Robin Hood Nitro, Chad.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is in some ways a seminal Nitro because it's one of those. It's like I know I watched before this in real time, and I can remember certain things here or there, but this is one thing I really remember this show because I still had the instituted bedtime at this point. And then this was one where I tried to leverage to stay up later and watch.
Sure, you weren't alone, that's for sure.
Yeah. So this is one I distinctly remember watching as a kid, the Nitro. So pretty important one. It's cool to kind of revisit too.
Yeah, I definitely remember watching this. I was still taping Raw every week for my collection, and Raw was still at 8 o'clock. So I definitely would have watched the first hour of Raw, then watched the second hour of Nitro. And I know I stayed up and watched freaking Robin Hood, or at least I probably flipped around and checked back for the commercials. But I'm pretty sure I just left it on. I probably played with my wrestling figures or read a magazine or something during Robin Hood, and waiting for the big main event to culminate between Hulk Hogan and Giants. So we'll talk about that, of course, as we go through this. And it's a memorable Nitro too, because it's not like it's a throwaway episode with it's not just the Robin Hood thing. It's such a big episode and such a big month. When you think about everything going on, I would argue it's one of the busiest months in North American wrestling history. At least like during the war time, like when both promotions are going. I know later, like there's so much TV now, it's like whatever, a million things happen. But like back then, if you think about what this path we're starting right now, January 13th, I mean, you could say until Mania, right? There's like a ton of stuff, but in January exclusively, there's a ton of stuff. Like we have this Raw Nitro, we're on the doorstep of the Royal Rumble, then we get the Clash, we got sold out. Like there's so much stuff and the big Nitro at the United Center that they've been hyping. So it's like there's so much stuff in this 3-week span that's just wild. And then February is just as crazy when you look at it. With like Thursday Raw Thursday, the European title show. Like there's so much stuff in February into Mania. Like, and this is off and running from here. This to me, 1-6 felt like the prequel to 97. This feels like the start of the insanity of 1997 wrestling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just from a business standpoint, this is the first time Nitro had over 10,000 people. Also the first six-figure gate. So this is a big deal. I mean, you look at it like they're in the Superdome, and you think back like when WCW's ran that before for Clash of the Champions 6, which has, in many people's opinion, including my own, one of the best US matches ever in Flair versus Steamboat. So from a work rate perspective, like it's a triumph, but from a gate and business standpoint, it was a disaster. 6,000 or whatever ended up being in there. The show is lit so dark, you can't see nothing. So when they first pan to the crowd here, you can tell like there's a lot of people here. Like we're not in.
Yeah.
Think of like some of the buildings that both Raw and Nitro have been in since we started the podcast that look like, large barn houses or whatever for like a better term. Like this feels definitely like a significant step.
Think about like In Your House 3 or whatever in that Saginaw building. You know what I mean? Like we've just come a long way. And I don't think WWF had not even run the Superdome yet, right? For like a big, I don't know if they had done a house show there probably at some point, but they've never done a pay-per-view or like TV there. So this is really the first big show of this modern era. I mean, like you mentioned, the Clash was there, but of this time period, it's really of the 90s, like the first big show that's there.
Yeah, it's really cool. And that's something that continues, as we'll talk about, like when WWF does run Skydome in about a month, which is cool to see. So there's a lot of big arenas that you'll be seeing coming up. I mean, obviously they're running the Alamo Dome in like a week for Rumble, so it feels more large scale, certainly. And I think as we go through the show, it's interesting too. We talked about some weeks on Nitro where not all the main players would be there. And this is a Nitro where almost every, main competitor is there. I think only Flair, but he's hurt still, is in attendance. But they do it very quickly. Like we see Sting for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And we see Hogan really pretty limited compared to what you would think. So it's interesting how they did it. But I guess we can dive in. So we are from New Orleans in the Superdome, but we get kind of a off the beaten path open. It's almost like a cold open of the Giant rushing the NWO locker room. He's yelling. He wants a piece at Hogan. He gets held back by the NWO B team and Doug Dillinger and some other security people. So we kind of don't know right away like what the context is, like why all of a sudden he's so upset, but just we see him rushing in, and then as soon as we cut to the arena proper, Tony cues us in that we learn that it seems like Hogan's chickened out of wrestling the Giant. It sold out. So basically he's ducking out of the match, and that's what pissed off the Giant so much. So that's kind of the start of the show. Larry says this is typical of the New World Order, but they're doing all this right as our intros for the first match happen. Like we don't get the traditional cut to the announce booth to start the show. So I liked it. I mean, I liked it as a different opening. It had kind of a big feel to it.
Yeah, it kind of feels. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago where they were coming in the limo and Giant? They said they dropped the balls last week, right? So like it feels like we're doing kind of back to back on that, which is cool. I think they figured out a little bit like, okay, let's come out hot. Raw is coming up against us now at 8:00 too. So like let's capture it. So yeah, this is hot. Like he's in there, he's kicking the door in. He's saying Hogan's a coward and a liar, and he's going to take him out. So you're wondering right away exactly what's going on. Did Hogan play some more mind games? And then I like that we don't really have too much of a cliffhanger because we got other big shit to get to tonight. So I like right away that they say what it is. Like Giant's mad, Hogan's trying to bail out and sold out. We're going to have a problem.
So, right. Our first match is Mr. JL versus Chavo Guerrero Jr. One of the last times we'll see Mr. JL, I think he pops up a couple months later, but he's pretty much on the way out. Chavo, we talked about it. He's looked fine. I think he's been pretty good. Some good basic wrestling to start between these two. Chavo hits a planche on the outside. JL then goes back on the offense and hits a Rana for a near fall. But, I mean, the main thing here, like, the action's fine. Chavo ends up winning with a comeback he hits the butt button and the moonsault press to win. And the crowd is into Chavo here. So this is a fine match for what it was. It was an opener to kind of get the crowd rolling. But the main thing, too, is the announcers are really talking a lot about the sold-out pay-per-view and a lot of what's going on. So we kind of have that duality of the action you're watching is entertaining enough, but the announcers are also hitting on, like, the main event scene, which I go back and forth. Like, I know that can become very tiresome later. And it can here. I didn't think necessarily for this it distracted too much. Like, it was fine. But that's something to be cognizant of as we're watching these matches. But overall, went 2 1/4. It's a fine opener, and Chavo continued to look good.
Yeah, I think it becomes a bigger problem later when it starts happening in almost every match, that like you're interested in watching and feeling like guys weren't being paid attention to. And not that Chavo Guerrero and JL don't deserve the attention, but like a hot angle just happened. This is a real throwaway match. There's no feud. Like they're not balling out and going to the, doing. It's like it was a match that was put in place designed to allow you to be distracted a bit, because like you need time to process what we just saw, because we just saw a big angle. So it's not like they're just talking about stuff to talk about it. So I thought it was fine here. I like Larry's point that Hogan's been a wrestling giant since 1980. Like that was a cool point. So he's not afraid. So he's obviously some kind of mind game because he's used to this situation. They try and figure out how Hogan conduct the title shot because Giant won World War III, so he's entitled to it. He says it must be Bischoff's work. And like you said, the offense here is pretty straightforward. Chavo winning is no surprise. JL really hasn't been used much for anything but jobber to the stars type role. So this is a fine opener. Again, it'll let us get settled in, some good spots, showcase for Chavo, 2.5. But one point from Larry again that I liked too. He says Giant has to stay calm. And he didn't do that earlier, but he needs to if this is going to work, because they are, the more out of control he gets, the more likely they are to be able to pull some mind games and screw him over. So like, he's like, this dude's got to stay calm and let the process handle itself, basically.
Right.
Which I think is a good point from Larry. It's good advice.
Yep. One thing I noticed is at the end of the match, Chavo says, "Who's next?"
That was funny.
This is funny in retrospect. Like, obviously it will become a big deal in about a year, but didn't mean nothing now. But just the way he said, he's like, "Who's next?" He almost did it just like.
So I think of when I think of Chavo.
It was like, I wonder if Goldberg was like at the power
watching this somewhere.
Like, I like that. Let me back of the Murray. Back from break now, we do get kind of the more traditional open where Tony and Larry at the announce booth welcoming us in. Some Larry chants from the crowd. They basically, again, set the stage for the rest of the night. Then we get Hacksaw Jim Duggan's music fires up. He comes out with the big purple and gold WCW flag, says he's picked up the banner. He's carrying the torch for WCW, but he can't do it alone. Sting, be a man, come forward. Don't be so wishy-washy. Say whether you're WCW or NWO, tough guy. Oh, so there you go. Basically called out Sting. As Duggan walks to the ring, we learn that Larry won this golf tournament they had.
Yes.
Shooting a 67.
The WCW NAFTY golf tournament, which is the television whatever thing that they're at, the convention.
Right. This felt very like Cable Ace-ish. So it felt like something like Turner wanted them to really push, but okay. Yeah. Larry, though, says, "Eat your heart out, Tiger Woods," which I thought was pretty cool because, I mean, remember, this is January 97. So, like, obviously, like, Tiger was known, but he hadn't won the Masters yet. Yeah. So it was Larry on the forefront of what was going on the golf scene in January 1997.
Well, he is a legit like stud golfer, right? Larry?
Yeah, legit, like really good golfer. Yep. So supposed to be Duggan versus Super Calo. But before Super Calo can come out, Sting all of a sudden, like really suddenly, he's in the ring and he hits Duggan with the Scorpion Death Drop, which is really cool. Gets a huge pop from the crowd. Larry, of course, yells at that.
Right away. Oh, he's NWO. That's it.
Yeah. Says he's got goosebumps. They've gotten to him. Tony tries to salvage it a little bit by saying, well, I'm not so sure. I mean,
Sting's pattern has been if someone calls him out, he retaliates. No matter who it is. That's what it's been.
Yeah, that's one thing they gotta. I mean, we've hampered on it, but it bears repeating. Like, yeah, I mean, like Sting got called out, and then he did what he did. Like, what do you want him to do? Like,
right.
And then,
even with, like when he threw Ray, remember Ray jumped on his back and Raven said it. So it's always when it's a WCW guy that he's attacked, it's always been provoked.
Right. And then just a complete asinine move by Duggan here. So I like this where they said like they're scrambling for a standby match. Like that's cool. I always like that. Like, oh, okay, like we're live, pal. Like trying to put that in the moment. But then they go back to one shot of Duggan and he's standing in the ring waving the flag. I'm like, did you just sell that you were dead? Like, I mean, just say you were knocked out. Like, I mean, bring out the stretcher. Like, what?
I mean, he's holding his head while he's waving the flag, so maybe he's woozy. But like, you don't need to wave the flag if he doesn't want to get stretchered out and wants to walk out. Whatever, just walk out like this,
roll out.
Yeah, look woozy.
Yeah, because even Tony was like, "Well, I don't know if he's good enough to go or not." It's like this dude is still waving this flag, hoeing to the crowd. Like, what a
one thing I noticed, Don, I made note of, and you said it earlier, a lot of wide shots this week on the arena.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something they do a lot on Nitro, but they are showing off. Not only that they filled the Superdome, and I'm sure it's a little bit of a dig to Dirty F running the Alamo Dome in a week. And they knew probably it was going to be paper or whatever it was. So a little bit of a an FU, like, look what we packed in here. So that was kind of cool. Again, this is just a lot of giving Larry and Tony some talk. Larry, he's saying Hogan is so good at the game of chess, he's forced Piper and Giant. They're losing control. And then he tells Giant to go to Piper and learn the sleeper to prepare because Piper beat Hogan with a sleeper, and that's the way to beat him. So he's like, Giant should go learn from Piper how to use that move to beat Hogan. So I thought, again, Larry just always adds these little touches to the story that make sense, whether it's silly kayfabe or not, but like it still works within the construct of the story. So I didn't grade this. It's whatever. But besides the Duggan flag thing, it was fine. And it was an interesting, I liked the unpredictability of Sting when, because a lot of nights we get him at the end of the night. Now tonight we get him in the beginning, right? Which is different. So
yeah, we're about 15 minutes in here. So our standby match apparently ended up being Sergeant Craig Pittman versus Chris Jericho. This is where we get the first mention of the New Adventures of Robin Hood immediately following the show. They also say Jericho versus Chonos for Sold Out, which I think they've announced before, but they're pushing that. This is like a minute match. I gave it a star. It's nothing. Basically, Jericho uses his speed against Pittman. He does hit a nasty missile drop kick to win. And then he jumps and celebrates in the crowd. So, I mean, Pittman's washed. Jericho continues to win, but Jericho's not really involved. Like, the thing with Chono is one thing, but he like, since the Nick Patrick thing, he hasn't been necessarily involved in a good feud, I'd say. So it'd be nice if he could get locked in to a decent feud.
Well, it's interesting, too, because, I mean, he has kind of been one of the early guys battling the NWO because of the Nick Patrick thing. Even though Patrick wasn't fully NWO when they were feuding, like, everyone kind of knew he was. So, I mean, he was. So I guess it makes sense that he's still kind of involved with the NWO. But, this seems more like a randomizer match versus any kind of, special feud or anything. But it's a lot of Tony talking to Larry off the ledge about Sting. That continues. And the New Adventures, like you said, they hyped that up big time. So I went a half a star. I mean, at least Jericho looked strong, headed towards Sold Out, so that was good. But this was they could have killed that same. I know they tried to scramble, make it feel exciting and live, but they could have killed that time with just like Tony and Larry talking. Just as fine.
Right. Our next match is Harlem Heat versus High Voltage. Kind of tag team battle here. Harlem Heat dominates the early going. We cut to the back again, and the Giant is charging in again. Says he's not going anywhere.
Hogan's a coward.
Busy
We do hear Bischoff laugh this time, though.
a busy night for Doug Dillinger, trying to keep the Giant at bay.
Donuts Dillinger.
Yeah. Voltage gets a little bit of offense in. Nice butterfly suplex from Kenny Chaos. And then Rage and Stevie start firing off, and the crowd's actually into it. That leads to the finish where Harlem Heat gets the Heat Seeker to pick up the win. So I thought this was fine. Like, I thought High Voltage got the appropriate amount of offense in. You know, they had a couple moments to flourish, but obviously they were losing here, which they did, and Harlem Heat looked good enough. 1 star and 3/4. This was sort of your makeshift mid-card WCW tag match.
High Voltage comes out to like the opposite of noise when they come to the ring. I mean, it is like inverse silence in the Superdome. It is no reaction. A little more reaction for Harlem Heat and Sherry, which is good. And they do wake up for the match, but that entrance was like, no one gave a shit.
High Voltage.
I like Tony talk about Sherry's in-ring skills to hype the women's division. Like, I thought kind of hinting at maybe she could be a player there, like, or at least that they have this legend on the roster that's really good in the ring. So I like to that. Again, we get the reminder the Steiners are taking on the Outsiders that sold out, so they're going to be back reunited, back in the ring for the first time in a while. When's the last time they were? Was it like? I think we haven't seen them in forever.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm gonna look it up.
It's like August maybe or something.
Maybe.
Like, I feel like it's been a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Hog Wild was the crowd booing them, booing Harlem Heat. Or no, was that them? It was. I always mix that up, but
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Maybe that's the next year or something. Yeah, we go back to Giant. So we get a little bit more than just Giant kick in the door this time. So Hogan and Bischoff are laughing. Bischoff says Giant actually thought he was getting this title shot, and you can't get a title shot without a contract. And Hogan talks about psychology, and he said he thought Giant had a light for a cigar, and that's why he was trying to come in. So I thought that was pretty funny. So it's just Hogan and Bischoff being goofs as this is happening. We didn't get too much of the flow of this because of the NWO stuff. And Harlem Heat just kind of rolling along, trying to get back to the title picture. I went 2 1/4. Like, I thought it was fine, even with the interruptions.
It is. It was Hog Wild. They faced Harlem Heat, and Harlem Heat a bad chance against them. But we saw them as a team. They have the very quick, like, whatever match that was going on the September 2nd Nitro. I think that's the last time they
Is that the Sting and Luger or whatever?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that one,
it's
right?
the Sting. Yep, Luger and Sting by DQ. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so that was so yeah, it's been a while. I mean, that's a good 4 months by the time we see them here at Sold Out back together.
Yep. So that is good to see. Then go to break. NWO announcement for the Sold Out shirt poster combo, $25. Nash mentions the first 100 gets a signed copy. I don't know if that was legit
poster
or not.
It might have been. $5.95 shipping and handling on that as well. So $31 for the shirt and poster.
Yeah. WCW Saturday Night Shield's pretty short this week. Only 3 things mentioned: Barbarian versus Arn Anderson, Steve Regal in action, and Lex Luger versus Scott Norton. So there we go. Then we get the Tony has a big announcement. So the NAPTY convention's in this week. The executive committee's there. They're across the street having meetings or whatnot. But they've heard what's going on with Hogan trying to duck this match. They're going to make a decision, and will let us know before the show is over. So that's like your big tease that something's coming down the pike with the executive committee huddling.
I like they all happen to be at the Hyatt for the NAPTY. All the WCW Championship Committee is part of the Herder contingent.
The lawyers. One lawyer they had a couple of weeks in, and
God knows who else is on there. Bill Watts or whatever the idiots are on the committee. But Larry gets all excited. Goes, it was just a standard legal entanglement.
Harvey Schiller's over there frantically trying to put something together.
Pull it into the boardroom.
So now we get this an interesting trio, NWO makeshift trio coming out of Vince, Ted DiBiase, and Bischoff. They head straight to the announce booth, kick Larry out. Larry has a nice parting shot where he tells Eric if he keeps messing up, he'll be mowing Vern Gagne's lawn again.
Yeah, that was good.
Eric, says, hey, what about the Stinger? Stinger's our man. They show that video they've shown the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
Just everything with him. So some more stuff of them thinking, saying they have Sting in the bag or whatever. DDP comes out for his match. DiBiase lets us know this is another man in good standing with the NWO. Eric lets us know that he had dinner with Hall, and after a $350 plate of lobster he got with the program.
Did you hear where it was at Michael's restaurant at the Barbary Coast, which Bischoff always mentions? The fucking Barbary Coast is where he loved to stay in Vegas. So.
Let me see if Michael's restaurant is still.
Well, I don't think Barbary Coast exists anymore, so I would guess both are probably gone.
What is the Barbary Coast?
It was a hotel. It was a hotel in Vegas.
Was it? Okay.
It was on the Strip. I mean, it's long gone. I don't know what took its place. You could probably find out, but I remember Bischoff said this. It was like in his book or something. He's like, "Oh, we stay there because no one stayed there, basically. So they like kind of had the run of the place, and no one could. A lot of fans went there or whatever. But he said that was like their favorite place to hang out.
Yeah, now called Bill's Gambling Hall Saloon.
Yeah, not much. Wasn't a big hotel. I remember the first time I went to Vegas, it was there still, and that would have been like, I think the first time I went was like 2007 or something. So I remember Barbary Coast being there.
I mean, it is expensive here. It does. This is for a Las Vegas Review article from 2007, so obviously not too up to date. But here it lets us know that the lobster is broiled Maine lobster with drawn butter is $98. So, I mean, I guess if they both had that, throw in a couple apps, the bar bill. Yeah, I mean, it's all. So throw in the drinks and yeah, you're probably getting to $350 pretty quickly.
Well, that's there. Now. I mean, 97 could have been probably a lot of drinks to get you 350.
All right. So is Dallas Page versus Mark Starr. It's a job matchup. 30, I don't know, a minute, 30 seconds. I don't know how long this went. Not long. Page dominates. He the only thing I'll mention on the match itself is he has kind of another variation of the diamond cutter.
Mm-hmm.
This is one where he kind of Irish whips Starr in and then launches. It's almost like a diving diamond cutter. So that gets the win here. Ted says that's our man. Did you mention?
Yeah, it was all again. Just I mean, it sets up an angle, right? So that works. But it also gives Bischoff time to be extra cocky, set that angle up, which was good too. He says, "Oh, my neighbor DDP is now welcome after the big meal to come over for adult beverages and hot dogs, come down the street and hang out." And him and DiBiase again talk about this legal entanglement. They say you need a signed contract to have a deal. And the Hollywood and the NWO doesn't have to sign it. So Giant can have this contract from World War III, and he signed it, but if no one else did, you're screwed. So Bischoff says we'll be having Mai Tais on the beach in Honolulu.
A lot of locations from Bischoff. But
he's in full on, like we've passed just like leader of WCW Bischoff. Now we're really entering in like TV bigwig Hollywood player Bischoff, right? He's at all the hot spots, him and Hogan, and they're out drinking Mai Tais and everything. So he's really playing up that he's like an elite, you know.
Gold Club, ironically, never gets mentioned. But so this does set up like one of the more famous angles, I think, like in Nitro history, where right after the match, out comes Nash and Hall. Nash gets in the ring wearing a cool NWO hoodie, I might add.
Yeah, that was nice. I like those. I always remember this. It's crazy things you think about. I always remember them wearing like those hoodies in this segment, but they really stood out as like something different.
Yeah,
I don't know if they ever sold them or they just had it made for them, but
I don't recall seeing them, but they look nice. So Paige hugs Nash immediately. And the announce booth celebrating big time with this, like, all right. And then Ted says, we got to put the shirt on to make it official. Hall throws him the shirt. Paige puts it on, big celebratory moment. And then I do love the way like Paige does this, where Nash has turned with his back to Hall and Paige. Paige handshakes Hall, hangs on for the handshake and then gives him the diamond cutter. And then just the sequence of Nash turning around, realizing what happened, rushing in, and completely like flying over the top rope and into the timekeeper's table.
It's a super memorable spot. Like if you think of this segment, you can picture it 100%.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can picture the diamond cutter and Nash just flying over the
Yeah.
top and onto the table. Like it's such a good spot.
Table goes flying.
Yeah.
Page goes out through the people. I mean, he's pretty much a made man after this. Eric says he's out of his mind. He's now number 1 on the most wanted list. So I mean, this is what it is. Like Page had been showing signs of improvement and steadily becoming better connected with the people, but this is like a breakout moment. And it's one of the first times you can really see, I think, the NWO like completely
caught off guard.
Eat ass. Yeah, like I mean, they hadn't.
Piper coming out at Halloween Havoc is maybe the only other one.
Yeah, and that was so Hogan directive. Like I like that this one didn't have Hogan involved at all.
Right.
So it kept with that, and it was nice, and it really felt out of nowhere. Because I mean, I think up to this point, everybody like in that mid card area, like Bagwell or Norton or whoever, Big Bubba, like they turned, like they went to the NWO. Everybody they recruited heavy.
Giant's the only guy to really come back, and that just happened, and it's not even fully official yet.
Yeah. So I love it. I mean, it's an all-time segment. Like you said, it's something super memorable where you can visualize it years later.
It hits. Really I mean, yeah, it's great. Like Page goes from a guy with potential to a star in like 2 minutes. It's crazy. And it watching in order has helped us, I think, appreciate the turn more, because it always seemed maybe kind of random in your mind.
Yeah.
But watching all these Nitros, this has been teased for like 8 weeks. It's like with all those interviews, he doesn't get it. And they kind of made Page look stupid in a way. But this is like the ultimate F you. You're the idiots because, you tried to play me, but I'm a step ahead of you. I'm not joining your club. I'm on my own. And WCW needed a jolt of energy and a star. So they're getting the Steiners back. They may be getting the Giant back. And now they got Page, this like star on the rise, turns down the offer and stays with them. So momentum seems to be, and the Piper win, right? So I would say this is like 3 weeks of some sustained momentum for WCW for the first time in a while. And that's not even kind of Luger, who's just kind of rolling through guys on his way up. So it seems like, okay, maybe we're starting to get somewhere in this war from the WCW side.
Yep. Then we get, like in the commercial break, there's the, preceding announcement paid by the New World Order. So it's a pretty long form promo by the Outsiders now against the Steiners. I thought this did a good job of hyping their tag match.
Do you think they should have aired this before that segment? I know it didn't matter. This is clearly pre-taped, but like it might have like made them seem a little bit more locked in if this was before. Then you get to the segment and like, oh man, they guys are on fire. They just ripped apart the Steiners. Now they're coming out to welcome DDP. It almost felt kind of weird that like we just see DDP screw them and then they're here acting cool. Again, I know it's not even pretending to be live, but like it's like a minor thing that maybe this could have aired earlier in the night.
Yeah, probably. So like the gist is they say like the Steiners can go, but the Outsiders are better. And then Hall rips a lot off on Rick Steiner, like saying dog face gremlin, that's appropriate. His face looks like a mutt, only a mutter could love him, and all this stuff. So a lot of digs here. I don't know if you wrote anything else down, but just I love the insults they give to the Steiners. But again, I thought it did a good job, because it's like your typical outsider stuff where like they're confident, but they didn't necessarily like punch down to the Steiners' wrestling ability. Like they say they're good, but we're better.
They credit them, and they say we got your X-rays, we know Scott's injuries, like we're gonna pick you apart, and we're better. And the presentation is awesome. It's just like two cool guys riffing, getting their points across. It was super smooth. It's an awesome promo. I mean, these guys are both on fire. They've been on fire. I feel like this section of the NWO doesn't get talked enough about in their legacy. Everyone always talks about Nash, and he can talk, and he's a cool guy, and he's almost too cool. But this initial NWO run, like he is phenomenal in all this. Like remember the Larry stuff, like all that, like when they're clowning on Larry that time. Like there's so many good moments just on these random throwaway nitros. He's in the commentaries carrying matches. So he's a guy that has full control of his character and what he wants it to be. And Hall too, but especially Nash. I feel like this run, heel Hollywood Hogan is the catalyst, but Nash to me is really the glue during this whole stretch of getting the NWO over through his like talking and presence.
I think for Nash, it was almost like it seemed like it gave him a lease on life, right? Because by this point, he'd had all that crap of like, you're the lowest drawing WWF champion ever. And he got cool towards the end of his run when he turned heel. But this is different enough. Like I think, I mean, and you saw it like even with the lawsuit they did, like Hall and Razor are like Razor was cool still in WWF. Like Nash, he really didn't have much of a chance from Diesel, just from being like big and dominant. Like that was more his thing. Like his persona has blossomed so much. And you know,
and he's funny. That's the biggest part of it.
Like, as we know, that's like
his humor is really coming out.
Yeah.
But it's not done in a clown way. It's done in like, as awesome as 01 Austin is as a heel, right? A lot of his comedy is drawn on the fact that he's kind of being a chicken shit throughout that run, right? So Nash is effortless in keeping cool, being funny, and still being a fucking badass during this time period. Like he's the king jock. I mean, that's how he comes across, right? He's just like the likable king jock, and that's it. He rules the school here.
Yeah, it's really good. It's nice to see. I mean, obviously, like how we talked about how bad Hogan was in the doldrums. So like him turning heel is such a turnaround.
Yeah.
But I think Nash too, like his overall legacy is at this point is so improved by joining the NWO. We'll talk about him a lot throughout this podcast as we get through. And there'll be a lot of ups and downs on like when he starts overusing that. But it's something he definitely like harnessed and, parlays into other stuff down the road.
Yeah.
But it's because of the way he is now. So, I mean, I'd say definitely enjoy the ride for what we are now, where he's clearly one of the top stars on both shows, and looks like, and one of the coolest guys on both shows too. Like, as if you're just thinking like coolness factor, he's up there with Austin as like one of the coolest two people. I think you can make an argument they're the two coolest on either show. So that is good. Then we get our feature match for the week, which is Dean Malenko versus Eddie Guerrero. That ends the first hour. Tony and Larry come back. Tony says someone needs to peel Hall off the mat. Larry lets us know Paige is someone that Sting should look up to. So a complete 180 already for Larry, like on Paige. He's like, yeah, this is the guy.
Here we go. Yep.
We learned that Piper was speaking Gaelic last week when he
was babbling. Yes,
was
ancient language called Gaelic. Says Tony.
There we got that. Right. It sounded like Aaron George podcast. Yeah, I don't know about Gaelic, maybe George like. WCW committee has made a decision, and they're coming
on their way.
Announcement, so they're crossing the street as we speak.
I mean, now there's like a Dave and Buster's across the street. I don't know then what was there, but
yeah, maybe. So good mat wrestling to start between these two. Figure four gets applied, and then so pretty basic. This is kind of, we've seen this template a couple of times on some of these long form matches. It goes about 12 minutes, where the first half's kind of very mat oriented. Nothing bad, but nothing great. There is one good piece of commentary, I think, by Larry here, where Guerrero's hooked in an arm bar, and with the camera angle, you can really see like his shoulder socket being ratcheted back. And Larry talks about how like the bone's not supposed to bend that way. So he had some good insight. But crowd's fine. It's what it is. The match really steps up in the second half. But before we get that, Tony is here with the big announcement. So they made sure to do this before the second hour, which I thought was pretty smart.
And I like that they do it as they're throttling down the action. Like it's
Right.
on purpose, right? That they go to the armbar
Right.
and all that. And it sucks with the live crowd, but whatever. For TV, they're doing it so you're not missing the action and you can really focus on what Tony's about to say.
Right. So Tony lets us know that Giant versus Hogan will in fact happen tonight, which gets a big whoa from Larry. And then the second half of the match is a lot of stuff going on. So the match itself gets better. You got a lot of cool pinfall, reversals, high impact moves. So the match itself gets a good bit better. Six is in the crowd on the ladder. So that's a distraction. That adds to Six versus Guerrero. It's sold out. Eddie ends up getting distracted and ends up getting pinned by Dean. Just overall, Dean Malenko versus Eddie Guerrero is a feud we'll see throughout 1997. So this is kind of the start of that. And they worked this match. I don't know if they knew they were going. I mean, that's very long term. But they definitely worked this match like a first match in a long-running series, which I thought was smart. Where there's, Malenko kind of respects Eddie. Eddie's still like a very courageous baby face, so like he's letting he's holding the ropes, allowing Dean to come in. It was worked very cleanly as a match, so I like that. And then beyond everything else, like once Tony makes that announcement, it's like off to the races on the hype job for this main event, where we get over a lot of the magnitude of the main event on commentary, where this is the biggest Nitro main event, call your friends, call your mom, call your grandma, all this, the big shield. So just that's like four things that happened in this match, and they all seem to work and flow, I thought, together well. And overall, this created like a pretty cool package where if you're watching this show, especially if you compare it to what match was going on Raw at the same time between Crush and The Undertaker,
yes.
It's pretty tough to to pick that one over this one.
And this is just a match you can just throw out on TV, anchor the hour, whatever. It's like, oh yeah, let's throw Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko.
Yeah. They have the arsenal of talent right now to do that. We saw that with Ray.
A feud that like made ECW, by the way, 2 years earlier. Like this is like,
yeah,
a big deal.
For your hardcores, it's like okay. So I went 3 1/4 for this match. I liked it. I think it's a nice hidden gem, but as an overall package, I thought it was very well done. And it accomplished what it should have in all facets that it was going for.
Yeah, like Tony saying, like the fans don't even realize yet what they're about to see. Excuse me, here tonight. And then he goes all in about TNT being the top cable network thanks to WCW and Robin Hood leading the way. So TNT is at the top, and the finish was great with the power bomb. Dean winning, I think, surprised me a little bit, honestly, with Eddie having the big match with Six, but like you said, Six leads to the interference and the win. So we get the PlayStation replay here as well as part of this. But again, after a slow start with the crowd checked out, they really ramped up, and I'm fine with it because they had to do the announcement. So whatever. I still think maybe you could have done that maybe in the next match with these other guys where this one could have gotten their full attention, but they're also pro enough to tamp it down and be able to ramp it quickly back up and get there. So they got a lot of time. A little bit of a gentleman's grade here for me because of the respect and effort, the strong close. Big win for Dean. I went 3.5. I think I projected it a little bit, like into what it could have been and what it should have been. And again, out of respect, I probably gave him a little bump. I was probably about where you were on the match, but I think they deserve the 3.5. And for us, this is a hidden gem for sure.
Yeah.
When you consider that they did not only have a great match, they did their job to help the story of the show go across, right? They were able to proficiently bring the pace down and allow Tony, but still work it in an interesting way. It wasn't boring, but they were able to throttle it down to allow the announcement to happen and then ramp it back up.
Yeah, this is one where I think, like, in the context of, hardcore wrestling fans, like, it's important to know and understand, like, roles and glass ceilings, and there's stuff like that. And there's certainly moments we'll be able to point to where there's, like justification in being frustrated at the position of these guys going forward in the next couple of years. But for this instance, and I've looked at reviews of the show, and there's seems to be a lot of critiques levied against this that like they were distracted. I mean, it's like a team concept, right? Like on most of your teams, like sometimes you're not always the quarterback or the the power hitter. Like everybody serves a role. So this match itself was almost like the equivalent of the Dave Roberts stolen base in the 2004 ALC. Like that needed to happen. Like this match needed to happen to get over the other stuff and the magnitude. And they executed their role well. So I think it's easy in hindsight. Like for me, like obviously, like Eddie's one of my favorite wrestlers. Like he's a great wrestler, one of the best wrestlers of all time. Dean, is here or there, but has some people have him highly ranked too. So it's easy to say like, oh, this is another instance of WCW holding back these guys trying to have a great match by putting over the old main eventers. But I think everything worked well beyond that. And like I said, Six is still there too. So that's part of it too. So I thought this accomplished everything it needed to. So then we start off with hour number 2. We get a recap of the Giant stuff. Bobby and Tenay are brought in. Bobby, says a few things, not much, but basically says that Hogan has a Hollywood-sized problem on his hand. He's got an angry giant that's trying to come after him, blah, blah, blah.
One of the things I want to know about Malenko, too, like this is the year we know that he wins the PWI number 1.
Right.
So we should track that a bit, right? Let's see if he's like, if he would be our pick as the year goes on. But he's off to a good little start so far. But
yeah. Our match to open up hour number 2 is Super Colo. So I guess I don't know if he was supposed to do double duty or
no. I think they make it like because he didn't get to have that match. We found a replacement for him.
Okay,
so he gets to wrestle again now.
Conan, who was just hanging out backstage, he gets the call. Some good basic lucha to start. I thought there was a good many shots fired in this match. Tony lets us know they have the top Mexican stars here in WCW. He mentions there's a 6-man at the Clash, which is the way to watch them. Tenay backs that up, and Bobby does as well. And then at least on commentary, like they're still talking about the main event stuff, and it's like, well, they do mention they're like, sorry, we're maybe ignoring the action, but it's just like the magnitude of the main event. So that was at least good that they acknowledged.
And Tenay and Bobby haven't really had a lot of time to talk about it. So
right. Conan ends up winning with his like cradle DDT. Which I don't know has the name. I don't know. But I thought this was fine. I went 2 stars. This was again kind of like in the first hour with the JL match. It was entertaining. It was what it was. It got its job done, and it ended.
I liked it. We have Tony talk about Conan has taken up the torch for the dungeon, so he's got to become the lead guy.
You're a closet Conan fan. That's what I've learned doing this podcast. Yeah, you're peeling his potatoes. Every time we have a match, like I'll say, like it was fine. You're like, I liked it. Big Conan,
like stuff too.
Big K-Dog guy. Yeah. You had him with the top 10 on TNA too.
He's good in that run.
Oh my Lord.
Tenay talks about Colo getting his name from a band in Mexico, and Bobby says it's good he doesn't like Diana Ross. So that was pretty funny. And like you said, they just really hype the traditional lucha 6-man tag is what they call it, traditional at the Clash. So be ready for that. Besides the late botch again, I thought the finish was actually kind of nasty. Like he really spiked him with the DDT. The botch was that Colo doesn't get high enough on a charge, and Conan just kind of drops across body on top of him. But it felt like a little bit of a spectacle. Like Colo took a real shit kicking, and Conan just stiffed the shit out of him. So I went 2.5. So if that makes me a big Conan mark, so be it. But I thought it just felt fun. Like I feel like he probably is a guy that we'll see. He takes liberties with the other lucha guys that he brings in, and he really potatoed the shit out of them. So it was pretty good.
You and Meltz are the 2 big Conan guys.
Salad.
I did there's so this is the most random match ever on Superstars the day before. Hector Garza faces
Heck, the
TL.
Gaza.
He faces TL Hopper, which is so thrown together. But in that match, Hector Garza has one of the worst 30 seconds I think a wrestler can have, where he botches and then he does an atrocious cartwheel that my unathletic self could do a better looking cartwheel than what he puts out. He has to pause. He runs into the referee in the corner, and then he tries to do the moonsault to the outside from the second rope. He pauses forever. He doesn't get good contact on the moonsault. So it was just like, oh boy, like they're trying to start.
Superstars was taped. I'm shocked that they ran it.
Oh,
Like,
this is so bad. Like it was shocking.
I can't believe they aired it. Like, I know they're
Oh,
trying to push him as a threat. You think not airing it would be better,
yeah.
to push.
I'll
And then does
probably
he
put it
not
on
even
my
end up? He's not.
Twitter.
We'll talk about it, I guess. I don't think he's even in the Rumble. Isn't he in
Yeah,
the 6-man?
I don't know. I'll put it on my
After Russo hypes him as the fucking threat to win the Rumble.
Yeah, threat to win the Rumble. I'll put it on my Twitter. I mean, it was just like I was like, oh my
Can you
god.
throw it up on Threads as well for me?
On Threads, the new Parlor. What was that? The Facebook? Wasn't that what it was a couple years ago? Where everybody was like,
The Trump one? Wasn't that the Trump one?
yeah, the
Parler?
Trump one.
Yeah.
Where
No,
everybody's
yeah,
like,
Threads
let's
is
go to
just like
Parler.
Threads is Meta's Twitter, trying to fill the gap.
There we go. So our next match is Benoit versus Jeff Jarrett. Before that match takes place, we get another Sullivan promo. He talks about how he's been lonely around the holiday season. He has a chessboard in front of him that he swats away. Says he owns the board and he'll take it back in Chicago. So basically, issues a challenge for next week at Chicago. We also learned they have a no holds bar or whatever match scheduled for the Clash too.
But the weird thing is, he mentions here too, you've messed with someone else in my life. So are they planning? I know we've had a hint before of something going on with Sullivan, but like, I don't know if this is meant like his kids or something, or is there someone else that's going to pop up that Benoit's also messed with? I don't know. It's hard to follow Sullivan.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's a human game of chess.
So they're going to fight back-to-back nights basically next week. They're going to fight in Chicago, and then they're going to have the Falls Count Anywhere at the Clash.
Him and Sabisco need to just have a chess game to see who
wins the human game of chess the best. I think you know what the selling point that they should have plugged for this is that they'll face off on Nitro, then they're going to fight on the Clash, and Dusty Rhodes will be calling the match. Like, to me, that should have been the number one selling point for anyone who's going to tune into the Clash. You don't want to miss Dusty calling a Falls Count Anywhere match between Benoit and Sullivan. It's a must.
Dusty. So I've been trying to watch all the filler episodes, like the Saturday nights and stuff. And I know I mentioned on the last episode that the Saturday night before the 1/6 Nitro was he's got a bicycle. I mean, Dusty's run as a commentator right now is like Charles Barkley inside the NBA level. Like, he is on the Saturday night, 2 nights before this show. He's firing on all cylinders too. One point, Tony mentions, he says, like, what's he say? Like, good luck to the Packers.
Yeah.
And Dusty's like, wait a minute, I know you're not dogging on my Cowboys and all this. It's just like pissed at that. There's a ring girl that takes Squire David Taylor's robe, and he's like, oh my goodness, and starts singing to her. I mean, it's electric. Like, it's electric commentary between him and Tony. So woman's wearing a huge string of pearls, big pearl necklace. And this is a quickie match, but it's very intense, which I like. Like, Benoit goes right after Jarrett. Jarrett is not liked by the New Orleans crowd whatsoever. Huge Jarrett sucks chant from the crowd. He gains the advantage and struts to a turn of boos. Out comes the Horsemen, which distracts the crowd. Jarrett fires back as we actually get some Super Bowl talk by these announcers. Because I don't think we mentioned it, but this is a cool moment where, like, the Superdome had held the Sugar Bowl, which ended up being Florida versus Florida State for the national championship, essentially. Then it held this Nitro, and then it's holding the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. So that was like great,
big time
planning Yeah, where
Well,
they
and it lets them, yeah, it's great planning, and it lets them put themselves on that level, like
yeah.
Sugar Bowl, Super Bowl, Nitro, like we're all on the same level.
Yeah, they can squeeze in. So that's really cool. And then we get the finish. So the finish here was a little Mongo, bless his heart. He didn't execute this finish that well. So Benoit and Jarrett are fighting in the corner, and Mongo grabs home to Jarrett's tights, or his whatever his spaghetti straps or whatever you call it, his stupid things. And he's trying to get the Halliburton from Deborah, and Deborah and Mongo like wrestle together. So Mongo lets go of Jarrett. At that point, Jarrett reverses with Benoit. So now Benoit's back's to Mongo. And what should have happened is kind of in one fluid motion. Mongo like grabs the briefcase and whacks Benoit before he can see that is Benoit. But there's the one point where like he turns his head and can see that like Benoit's been reversed. So he grabs the briefcase and kind of has like a pause and then whacks Benoit and then acts like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. So a little bit clunky on the execution there.
In a way, though, it almost works because of Mongo and Deborah and their issues with Benoit. It's like, was it on purpose?
Maybe,
It's like in a way it kind of furthers the story a bit that maybe they did hit Benoit on purpose.
I guess you can go meta with it. But as a match
kind of covers for the botch,
Yeah, as a match itself, I went 2 1/4. Like it was short, but it was very intense, so I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. The big announcement here is that Hogan Giants non-title. They say Hogan didn't have 48 hours notice. So pretty quick backtrack. But it's still a big match. Tony's hyping it. And it's clear they're doing this because sold out, they're going to still have the title match, right? So we're not going to get screwed, but you are going to get to see Hogan Giant here tonight. So whatever. If you're horny to see Giants Revenge, you're still in on it. Today talking about the incident in Shreveport between Scott Hall and Brian Knobbs, but they don't have any substantial information. That's not the thing with like the security. That's later, right? What the hell happened with Hall and Knobbs? Did they have a fight? Is that what
I don't know.
Didn't he really hit him with a chair or something and fuck him up? Was that what it was? Well, that's Sags, right? Isn't it Sags that gets?
It's Sags, yeah.
Maybe because that was from that, because he hurt Sags in their match. Knobbs and him had a fight or something. Anyway, today mentions it, and he's like, but it doesn't go anywhere. The match had a lot of chaos, a lot of back and forth. I like the finish. Again, I think it could have actually looked more awkward. I think they did all right. And maybe that's because I just assumed they were trying to make it like Mongo could have done it on purpose. Arn barks them. So I actually went 2 3/4. I like the intensity of it. I like the story part of it. So I don't know. Everything on this episode has just been clicking with me so far.
So Mongo's pissed. He argues with Arn on the outside. Deborah's she's really become one of my favorite heels of the company. She looks so happy with herself. She tells the camera, well, I just don't know what happened. Tony talks about like it's a gorgeous smile and can you fix everything with a smile? Then we get the big Horseman interview, which we had a couple of weeks running now. Tony says, Gene, try to figure this out. It's a mess overall. Benoit says they're resolving this now. Horsemen represent an elite team. Mongo should know that because he's been a part of elite teams. He's an all-pro football player, but if he wants to be an all-pro wrestler, he needs to quit fumbling the ball. Benoit says what's happened the last few weeks doesn't look like an elite team at all. He was handpicked by Arn Anderson to become a Horseman. Mongo became a Horseman due to unfortunate circumstances. He says that Deborah bad-mouthing everyone is just her style. And while he's saying all this, like Woman is staring him down. Then he lets us know Woman is 100% woman from head to toe. No plastic, no silicone, all woman.
No wax.
Yes. So really, I mean, one of the better, I would say, Benoit.
I thought it was a great promo from Ben, not to put him over, but it was a great promo from Benoit.
It was a good promo.
He was pissed. He came with a vengeance for this one.
Yes. Mongo apologizes and says, yeah, my bad. I've screwed up, but, I'm owning up to my mistakes, blah, blah, blah. Benoit then asks Arn where Flair is. Arn basically.
Well, but Mongo, I thought actually made a good point in this too. He even says, like, hey, yeah, it was a mistake tonight, but buddy, we've won a lot of fucking matches with that briefcase. You know what I mean? Like let's dial it back, man. Like on the Halliburton.
Yeah.
Because it's it's won a lot. Yeah, and then he takes a good dig at Kevin Green. He goes, "Yeah, I made a mistake tonight, just like Kevin Green and the Panthers, because I think they had just lost to the Packers, right, in the NFC title game." So that was funny. So he gets a little dig at Kevin Green.
So Benoit asked where Flair is, and I still don't know where they were trying to go with this Flair character, but Orange says Flair doesn't want to be a part of this personal thing. So this again plays in that Flair just like wants to party and be negligent and like I don't know. I mean, basically, like he wants to be like Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's. Like I don't know.
Well, why not just say he's obviously just not there? So why not just say he's at a business meeting, he's trying to get an endorsement, he's in rehab on the shoulder. Like there's plenty of ways to cover for it. Basically, instead of saying he wants no part of this until it gets fixed, and we got to figure it out. Like he's hand waving it.
Is this the leader, or is this? I mean, who is? What's going on?
Like Jerry Seinfeld. Like, have you noticed? Did you notice too that Gene fucking like missed his cue? Benoit, this is like an all-pro promo for Benoit. He covers for him because they kind of stop, and then Benoit goes, "Yeah, Gene, where's Flair?" And then Gene turns, he goes, "Oh, Flair's so sick to his stomach, he didn't even show up." So it's like it almost felt like he gave Gene the cue to say where Flair was. You know what I mean? To pick it back up. So the whole thing kind of. Benoit was great. The rest of it is kind of falling apart.
Yeah. So Benoit tells Mongo to shape up or ship out. Then Deborah, of course, gets on the mic, and she's awesome too. She says she's just devastated that these people would think she would gossip behind their back. She loves both these people to death. I mean, just huge views are rated in on Deborah, and then it ends with Mongo basically getting in Benoit's face, saying, "Hey, if you don't want to accept my apology, and Frill and Froggy just jump."
Just jump, baby.
And then one of the funnier moments too, like Arn is just like
he's so bewildered.
He's like, well, I still got to wrestle Rick Steiner in a few minutes. That's how they end the segment.
But he's like so like flustered. He's just like, it feels like a guy who's been home with the kids for like a long weekend. He's got like 5 kids, and he's like, "Oh, all this, and I got to deal with Rick Steiner."
My exact thought was this was a guy that had a hard day at work and then comes home and a kid's bought a new toy or something that he wants the dad to put together. He's
so exasperated. He's like, and now I got to deal with Steiner.
I got to deal with this crap too.
It's like a weird blend of like a sitcom with like a Melrose Place type thing. Like it's just a weird angle, but I thought this was one of the better ones.
Yeah,
because it from both like it was good, but also from like the comedy that came with it. But like I thought Benoit carried this, which you would never say in a promo with Arn Anderson involved. Like and even Gene, like Benoit completely carried it. He cues Gene, he rips Mongo apart. Deborah was great, and then exasperated, sitcom dad Arn at the end, just like completely having no. There's nothing left to give. Nothing left to give here.
So our next match, Scotty Riggs versus Billy Kidman. Still the American Males music for Scotty. Basically, not much of a match here. Buff comes out in the aisle with a new look. He's wearing his black jeans and has like a long robe and a cap. Buff says Scotty is fat and he's buff, so he basically buries. He does the opposite of what the outsiders do with the Steiners. He completely shits on Scotty, calling him fat. Kidman does get in some offense, but he misses a 450 splash, which Tanay calls the shooting star press. And then Scotty hits the fisherman suplex, which was Bagwell's move, but we learn now he wants to call it the Ameriplex and wins. The crowd didn't really care about this one much at all, and I didn't either. I went 3/4 of a star.
Oh, I gave it the gentleman's too. I mean, it was fine. I like Bobby saying he likes Bagwell's look. I like his look.
Yeah, I liked his look. Tony
mentions that the Omni is home to Nitro in March, first time since last January. So we'll be back there in March. I mean, it was whatever. It was just a hype for Sold Out. I mean, you get the males explosion. Bagwell's getting over the new character. It was fine.
Our road report. Do you have the notes on it?
Well, first though, before this, Tony, I don't know if you noticed, Tony, Bobby, and Today are resetting at the booth, And Tony asked Bobby, he goes, "Where did you get that water?" And Bobby says, "It's not water." And you could see him fumbling with something under the desk or whatever. So I don't know if he was pouring a fucking drink or what he was doing. I don't know if you missed it or saw it, but it was hilarious. So like
Nice.
Bobby's completely caught off guard. Like Tony got him. He's like, "Oh, where you get that water from?" And Bobby just deadpans, "It's not water." And he's like under the desk doing something. But it's worth checking out.
Yeah, I'll have to go back. I didn't catch that.
The road reports in Chicago. Lee Stagger Lee says the folks at Six Flags want to open a ride called the Tilt-A-Weasel. Today loves that one. He's laughing like no one has ever laughed before at that joke. And then we see that Aaron Neville and his family are in the crowd. And fucking Aaron Neville is like the biggest front runner in wrestling history. I feel like he's everywhere, jumps back and forth, no loyalty as a fan.
No. Just doesn't. What was the?
We all play the fool there. Everybody plays the fool for Aaron.
Who was the basketball player that was cheering the NWO?
Oh, AC Green.
AC Green, just completely flip flopping depending on who's out there. Yeah.
WF, he's out. He's at SummerSlam. A couple months later, he's a Spring Stampede. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Pick a side.
No loyalty here. He's a wrestling fan. Get off his back. Stagger Lee tells us to call Oprah to get tickets. I don't know if she was soliciting tickets or not to Nitro, but there you go. Bobby says he's not Lee Marshall, but Harry Carey. So a lot of bad jokes between them two tonight. Tilt-A-Weasel.
This is like I feel like this just had a lot of unintentional humor throughout this episode too. There's a lot of funny stuff like that. I don't think they were even trying to do a lot of it, but
right,
it really is carrying things along.
Lex Luger versus Rick Fuller. Fuller doesn't back down at first. They have kind of a power matchup. Fuller gets a leg in and a running clothesline, a leg drop for 2. He yanks on the arm. Tony says that's good. He's taking away the primary tool of Luger. Mm-hmm. Some nasty chops from Fuller. I thought he actually looked pretty good, shockingly. And then Luger rallies and has the fans on his side, goes through the clotheslines, forearms, torture rack, and that ends it. So I thought this was a fun squash. And of itself, this may be the best Rick Fuller ever looks in what we see him. Faint praise, but praise nonetheless. So I went 2 stars here. I like this squash.
So I just went the 1 for this, but it was I like how they always have Luger fight the big guys. Like it just kind of again puts over that gimmick of him that he can rack anyone. He's on the hot streak of his life right now. He's definitely becoming the ace for WCW. When they finally pull the trigger on him, it's going to be fun to see it come apart. As Luger's leaving, Giants come to the ring and they kind of stare down each other. So that was cool too.
Yeah.
Rick Fuller, super nice guy, by the way. I hung out with him at a bar after a Northeast Indie because he's big up here in the Northeast. So I went to his show. John Walters was on, and we hung out after at the bar. So nice guy, very nice guy.
I did like the stare down. I thought that was good. Giant comes out as Luger's leaving. They sort of size each other up. And then Giant's coming into the ring for an interview with Gene. But I thought it was good they mentioned that like Sting whispered to both of them, and we still don't know what he said. So there's that kind of lingering over both of them. We get the Giant promo. He says he's getting support from WCW, but it's not really about NWO or WCW for him. It's about 2 people, Hulk Hogan and him. Somebody asked him how bad he wants it, and he wants it real bad. He wants the World Heavyweight Championship. He won't be a bookend anymore. He kept the NWO together. Now the books are falling apart. And tonight he closes the chapter on Hulkamania.
He's kind of not wrong about it falling apart, though. Like, since he's kind of turned, we talked about it. Steiner's back. Yeah. Sting's lingering, and DDP is turned. So I kind of like him, even if he overplayed his role a little bit. We don't know what the perception is behind the scenes, that maybe he was one of the peacemakers of the
catalyst of doing all this.
Or just keeping everything together. You know what I mean? Like kind of maybe on the back, or keeping Hogan on track, and who knows. But
gotcha. Now we get Arn coming out for Rick Steiner.
Flustered on Urkel. He's dealing with Urkel.
Some talk about Steiners versus the Outsiders. Tony says after what Page did to them tonight, Outsiders have been taken down a peg or 2. Arn gets the early advantage, does some jumping jacks.
Did you see the entrance? Scott leads Rick out like on a chain.
With the chain.
What the fuck are we doing?
So
he's walking him to the ring with a fucking chain.
He literally has a yes, very nice.
This is quite the episode.
Big overhead suplex by Rick. Arn bails to the outside and is waving for backup. It's like, come on,
And no one
come on
comes.
out.
The
No
help
one-
never shows.
No one comes out.
Yeah.
Gets back in the ring, gets a hit with a power slam by Rick. Arn goes for the DDT. That gets reversed. He calls for backup again. And then like a pretty humorous finish. He just leaves. Like he's like, screw it. If nobody's gonna help me, I'm walking out. So he like walks to the back. Like this again is the dad going to his garage and going to drink a beer to like let off some steam. Like he's done, man. So I mean, I went half star. This was all.
I didn't even give it a grade. I think it looked. I honestly didn't like this that much. Like Rick and Scott look stupid with the fucking chain. Arn looks like a loser. Like why does he need? It's like Vader getting the tips from his kid. Like why does Arn need? It's like a 2-second match with Rick Steiner or whatever. Like you can't fucking wrestle this match. Like it's like he's hurt. If Arn was hurt or something, or if there was like 4 guys out there, like why does he need help? It just made him look like kind of a dope. Like it's not like Scott was even really interfering or anything. It just didn't make him look good. And honestly, this whole thing only exists to talk about the Robin Hood stuff, right? Which is what they do the whole match. So
Right.
Tony explains Robin Hood is going to start at 10 o'clock, but because of the importance of the match, if it goes past 10, they'll be back during the commercials of Robin Hood. So this is like only, so again, just like earlier, this could have been done with just like the announcers at the booth. Like we didn't need this segment, was pointless. So we already know Arn's aggravated. We know the Horsemen are falling apart, and we know Rick has wrestled. So it's like this is like Scott's return. So I just don't think we needed like any of this, And I know that they're filling. They're trying to get to 10 o'clock, but they could have filled in the announcers, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to get us to get to the Robin Hood stuff.
I don't know why they kept having Arn wrestle. Because he was like legitimately hurt. Like he only has like 2 more matches after this. So
wow, that's crazy.
So it's like he's definitely banged up. Like he wrestles on Saturday night. No, that's before this. Yeah, he wrestles at the Clash, and then he wrestles at Sold Out, and then he wrestles at 2 more Nitros, and then a Saturday night taping, and
I thought it was like later 97, but wow, that's nuts.
Is it? No, yeah. No. Oh, sorry. I was looking at Rick Steiner. No.
I was gonna say, because he's in the, isn't he at Sold? I mean, no, he's not.
He's not at Sold Out. No.
I meant Slamboree. Yeah.
Yeah, no. He wrestles 1 Saturday night taping and then the next 2 Nitros, and that's it.
And that's it. Wow.
Yep, that's it. We'll talk about the Thunder, but
right. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's very, very quick. He's obviously hurt, but they kept trotting him out there, which is a little weird. I don't
like this was an opportunity to rest him. Like we didn't need him.
Then we get the Steiner interview with Gene, which also has a lot of unintentional comedy. So Gene says, they know about Scott's back injury. Scott says they made 2 mistakes. 1, invited him to the pay-per-view, and 2, thinking he's still hurt. He'll put his fist down his throat and make an example of him. And at this point, like, you can tell Gene's like, all right, wrap it up. But then he moves on to Nash. He says, like, Nash would have an advantage in basketball, but this isn't that. And he essentially gets the awards ceremony wrap-up music where, like, the Nitro music fires up. Gene just basically has to say, like, we're out of time. And then Bobby says, nice interview, Rick. Like, he gets it. Rick Steiner not even saying
well, you could tell that I think they were really trying to tightly time this out. Like, so they really had to stay on cue because they're trying to hit a certain point in the match to go to Robin Hood. So
Sold
Out.
Out.
It's obvious at this point they're going to Robin Hood. If you were watching live, like we're starting this match with like 2 minutes to go, whatever the fuck it is.
Sold Out promo with 6, Nash and Ted DiBiase talking about their various matches. I thought this looked cool too. Like had some interesting graphics, looked a little different. It was a quick hit, but I enjoyed this. And now it's time for a big main event. So Tony lets us know as we come back, we got 6 minutes to Robin Hood. So the whole NWO minus Bischoff and the Outsiders comes out leading Hogan. Hogan gets kind of his big time entrance. Giant comes out to no music. Hogan immediately bails to the outside. Now Tony lets us know there's only 2 minutes to go to Robin Hood. Hogan's on the mic. He says, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, you are a big dum-dum. And when you're with Trillionaire Ted and the NWO, we do what we want when we want." He used the Giant as a friend, but doesn't need him anymore. So at this point, he gets too close. Giant grabs him, pulls him into the ring, and slams him to a big pop. The bell rings. Bobby says this makes him feel good, seeing Hogan get dominated. As Tony lets us know we have 1 minute to go to Robin Hood now. Hogan gets sent headfirst to the turnbuckles. He bails to the outside again. He says, "I quit." Giant chases him down, and now they sign off of Nitro. So this is what you get if you went. So now you get the first segment of the adventures of Robin Hood. If you watch this on the network, it fades to black for like a second.
It comes back.
Then it cuts in, which would have been the first commercial break. So the first commercial break, we're back. Tony lets us know that they're coming in live, which, it's like, come on. It's like, how long was this match? So that's a little dumb. Tony says the Giant is taking the fight to Hogan. Chops from the Giant, clothesline by him, low blow by Hogan, but that doesn't have any effect. He pulls Randy Anderson in front of him, and then Giant stuffs the bandana down Hogan's
Well, and there's like a fan
behind.
disturbance too, like Dillinger and security, like flood
Yeah,
over to a fan.
Dillinger runs over, is like going to somebody. So again, busy night for Dougie. So they sign off again. They're like, "Come back when the next commercial break. We'll be back again." They come back one more time. We're still live. Slam by the Giant. He calls for the choke slam, and then the NWO comes in for interference, and that's it. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we can talk about this like long form. Like, I did you rank this? Like, I
Even
was
no grade.
Okay.
I mean, it's not even a match. It's
Yeah.
it's clips, and I mean, so in the structure, what they're trying to say basically is the match went a half hour or 20 minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
Because what do you think 2 segments would? Like usually, the first segment of a TV show is usually like 10 or 11 minutes at least.
I'd say 25 minutes probably.
Yeah. So a 25-minute of Giant is beating up Hogan to the NWO finally gets involved. I mean, overall, like I think it's a good use of the TV and synergy, even if it's goofy the way they did it. Like, but they had to do something that would make fans stick around, right? So I was trying to think of like what else they could have done. Could they have said, if you come back during the first commercial, we're gonna have an exclusive interview with Hulk Hogan about Sold Out, right? Could that have kept fans? I don't know. Like, so what could it have been good enough to get fans there besides this match or a marquee match, right? So I think the way they did it was fine. I'm glad they only did it halfway through Robin Hood, not the whole friggin' show. Like, I think that would have been probably pushing it a little bit more. I think letting Giant dominate Hogan gives you a hook for Sold Out as well. So now they have footage of him just destroying him in this match. Makes you think like, okay, he's just going to do this again at Sold Out and win the title. So, I mean, that's just my thoughts on the match. We can talk about Robin in a minute if you want. But the match and the idea itself, I think it's a creative concept. I give them credit for trying it, even if the execution was a little goofy. I like that they were trying to think outside the box.
Yeah, I'd like to probably need to look in the Nitro book and see like what they say about this, because I mean, I do think it's part of it. Like they were given a directive.
I'm sure.
So that's part of it. As a match overall, it's interesting, but it feels kind of cop-outy. But again, like we're 2 weeks from the pay-per-view, like you weren't going to get anything definitive anyway. Just seems a little odd. So
they should have maybe done like a 6-man that could have been believable to go 25 minutes. Like maybe Hogan, Hall, and Nash against Giant, Luger, and DDP, so whatever, you know what I mean? Like throw whoever in there, Eddie, something, right? Where it's like, okay, this is a believable 20-minute match. Or don't show the entrances. Like as Nitro's ending, it's just the NWO starting to come out. And then when you come back, it's a little bit more believable that the entrance just could have taken 6 or 7 minutes to get going. Now we're not as long in. Like, so maybe it's a little less goofy. But again, I don't hate on it. Like, I don't think it's like a dirty tactic or anything. Like, if you watch this, really think you were going to get some big Hogan Giant thing, you're kind of a rube, I guess. Like even me, who's super into this shit at age 16 at this time, like, I don't think I got angry at 10:30 thinking I got fucked over. Like, I was just like, okay, like, you know, whatever, we get to see Giant beating up Hogan. So it's like, and that was a selling point. Giant beating the shit out of Hogan was like a selling point. So like, to me, it's not like a bait and switch or anything. Like, I don't think they screwed you out of anything. I don't know. I can see why people may think it, like, oh, they promised us Hogan Giant, we didn't really get it, but they didn't really. They just said we'll show you highlights during the commercials. So they didn't say you were going to see a whole match, you know.
Right. Okay.
Robin Hood, by the way, so airs 4 seasons, 52 episodes.
Crazy.
The first 2 were on TNT, the second 2 were on syndication. But that's pretty good for that show, though, to go 4 seasons, 52 episodes. Like, I would have thought it was one of those like 6 or 7 and done situations.
Right.
But the big thing with the 90s is like, everyone talks about content today where like, oh, there's a million channels, content can go on. Like, back then, this kind of shit had a lifespan in syndication. And there was millions of these types, Xena and like all those types of shows like had lives that you didn't even know when the frig this shit was on. It would just like air all these random times.
Yeah.
Hercules, like all that kind of stuff. Like those are a big deal for people. Like, so I could see why a show like this out of this time slot, if this was actually like in the afternoon in syndication, like grandpa watching this show, like they love, Robin Hood was like a memories of the old days kind of thing. For a little tidbit for my buddy Tim, fellow NWO fan, Robin Hood was played by Matthew Peretta, who would go on to play resident assistant Dan Rubin in 90210. 10 episodes, of course, as Andrea's paramour. And I believe the first person that Andrea slept with, I believe, was big old Dan Rubin. So he is Robin Hood here. The show also features Anna Galvin, who I think becomes like probably the biggest star to come out of this. I don't know if she's a star, but she's like in a ton of stuff. Like if I named everything she's been in, she's like a huge filmography, like from there. So if you went and look at it, she, stuff like a lot of different shows and movies, and she's still active right up until 2020. So she has a lengthy career after this. Star strong, I would say, like consistent actress. Off of
Yeah,
I'll put it that way.
I did watch the opening segment of this pilot episode. Made it through the title card and didn't recognize anybody on name value alone when they.
Well, there is one star actually that's in this show.
Who's in there?
And that is Warwick Davis, who's the little person, plays Wicket in Star Wars, and he's in the whole like Star Wars every movie basically.
Right. Okay.
Plays different characters, so I'd say he's probably the most well-known person that's in this.
So. 90210 bomb.
Well, I'd say him. Anna Galvin was the one that did like her filmography is like crazy.
Okay, got you.
Anyway, tune in right after this for more Robin Hood. All right, you want to get to our awards?
Sure.
All right, so match of the night, I think very easily, Guerrero and Malenko.
Yep.
Okay. Moment, I went DDP attacking the outsiders.
Oh, yeah. Easy. That's easy.
Did you do Page for MVP? I didn't put Giant. I don't know, but then I wasn't crazy about his promo. But it is a big night for him. He looks like a maniac. He's like dominating Hogan. I think he comes out as the biggest star, probably.
It's very weird because it's one of those where like you could do Nash. Mm-hmm. I mean, Page is part of it, but like he's really on the old screen for like 2 minutes.
I'm going to go Giant. I think Giant was a star coming out of this. He like attacking the locker room, the promo, dominating Hogan through the commercials. Like, he's kind of the guy on the show. Okay. It's probably the weakest Hogan's looked, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he's not on very much either. So for his like per appearance, like it's an easy pay. Like for him, you think him, Sting. I don't know if Sullivan was there, but all he had was that backstage
pre-tape.
Promo. Yeah. It's like, wow, these guys are just easy night for a lot of them.
I didn't have any shots fired. I guess the Lucha stuff you mentioned.
Yeah, that was it for me.
Debuts, I had Rick Fuller and Mark Starr.
Yep.
Road Report was Chicago, and for an overall grade, I went 7.5 out of 10. Like, I feel like this episode gets maligned because it's remembered as a Robin Hood episode, but the DDP turn is awesome. I thought they did a really good job hyping Giant Hogan throughout the night. We had Guerrero and Malenko, which was great. Some good unintentional humor, the stuff we covered with the Horsemen and all that. So I like this episode quite a bit.
Yeah, I went 7. I liked the episode. It's an interesting episode. Like, it was good. It had some like great moments. It had some funny moments. It's kind of an interesting episode to digest, but
it's the doorstep of their big week. Like, so it's going to be fun walking through. Once we get up past the Rumble, we're going to get that 3-week span of the Chicago Nitro Clash sold out. 3 episodes in a row. Right. We're going to dig deep in WCW. So I'm curious to see how they keep those 3 burning on 3 consecutive shows like that. So
right.
All right, let's head over to Raw, January 13th, 1997. Chad, where are we at here? Are we still
Knickerbocker.
Yeah. So this is the go home for the Royal Rumble. We open with a recap of Sid's actions from last week, as well as Bret's march to the Rumble. Austin has attacked him and beat on his leg on Superstars as well now. So that is laid out for us. We get our opening animation and go to our opening match as Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Jerry the King Lawler take on Mark Mero and Goldust. This feud rolls on. Honky Tonk is in the booth with Vince. They set up the show ahead. We get clips of the battle from 2 weeks ago where Mero and Goldust at the ring. Honky talks about how Goldust and Mero may have trouble meshing as a team. We start a quick brawl, all 4 guys. It ends with King and Hunter clearing out the reset. We get some Rumble strategy talk as Goldust demands Hunter, but doesn't get his wish. So we start off with King and Mero. Mero chucks King around. We get some more stalling as Goldust is trying to get at Hunter. We slowly get back going with King and Mero. Vince hypes the big Sugar Ray Leonard Hector Macho Camacho fight in Atlantic City on March 1st. So there you go. Vince loves his boxing. Mero cleans out King and Hunter, and we slow down again. Hunter comes in now, takes over on Mero with some right hands. Honky says everything boils down to money or women in the WWF. Goldust gets a tag, but Hunter scoots away and tags out to King. Honky talks about O.J. Simpson keeping his cool in the witness stand today as King and Goldust lock up and continue to amble. Goldust finally knocks Hunter off the apron and hammers away before they get separated. Vince talks about the week of festivities in San Antonio. We're having a big Raw party tonight, which I don't know if that was a dig at the Nitro parties or not, but I thought it was a funny little note from Vince. Mero gets trapped in the corner, double teamed for a bit as Hunter and King keep hammering away. Vince hypes Raw in Beaumont, Texas next week, says the Rumble winner will face the loser of the world title match on that show. So if Sid or Sean, whoever loses that's going to face the winner of the Rumble in Beaumont. Goldust gets a tag, batters King, who tries to tag, but Hunter walks away from him. Goldust cuts through King. King briefly turns the tide, but Goldust tags Mero, comes in and unloads. King regroups with Hunter, tags out. Hunter throws Mero outside and kicks away. After the break, Hunter's working over Mero. Vince asks Honky his thoughts on Hunter. Bret and himself as IC champs, so Honky rambles about that. Mero gets a flying head scissors. He wakes up the crowd a bit, tags Goldust. He tackles Hunter and unloads with a flurry, smacking King as well. Goldust is pouring it on, punching and choking. He ties Hunter on the ropes and chokes him. He slugs down King. When Mero tries to put Goldust off, Goldust hits him as well. And the ref calls for the bell and the DQ. And Mero looks like a bitch as always, says Goldust slaps him around. This is pretty boring, basic and pedantic. The stalling and punching. The crowd was dead. Goldust and Hunter stuff I thought was fine to hype the Rumble match. Like that was kind of the most interesting part of this, but overall it's another sleepy big Raw match at the back end of a taping. Mero got owned by Hunter. Goldust pantses him at the end. He just looks like such a clown. And I thought Goldust looked the best in all this. Hunter looked like a bitch too, hiding from him. I went to whatever, it's flat 2.5, but because there's some stuff in there, but the crowd was not into it. And like I said, Mero just looks like such a loser.
A crowd definitely not into it. So another one of these weird matches, man, where it's like you have Lawler and Goldust, 2 of my top 100 wrestlers of all time in a tag match. Hunter, who's had some good stuff and would be in some people's top 100s, top ones if you're Criscola. But and then Mero, who's capable. Like it's 4 capable people for sure. And it's just like they again have this sleepy end of the taping baseline match that has no heat. Honky, I did not like on commentary on the show. Like he's still trying to do the whole I'm recruiting somebody. It just felt like with him and Vince, it almost felt like they like stepped into a time machine from 1988 and like came out the other end. Like they feel very dated in the 1997 landscape.
The style does too. Like I'm thinking about it now. It feels like in through most of 96 on Raw, they've been working like the MSG 80s house style.
Yeah.
And the not realizing like the world has changed from ECW and Lucha and what Nitro's got going on. And they're still wrestling like matches with stalling, with like chicanery, like, and I don't know if you want to blame Cornette or not. Like he had the heavy hand in the book throughout 96. It's very kind of, I don't say the Memphis thing because I know Memphis is different in action, but like it is a lot of just old school style work.
No, I mean, I think your MSG comparison is what it is. I mean, it's WWF house show style antics. Like that's when you see the stalling and you see the rotation and commentary and stuff. It's like
Chin locks, it's
very
very slow.
variety. Yeah, like a variety style feel. But it doesn't work because I mean, especially for us, like even now I'm watching more of the stuff, but it's like you had one hour a week, really. Like that was where most of your eyes were. So let's maximize that.
Right.
And we're still here. And like you mentioned, like Mero looks so awful at the end.
He looks like such a bitch. It just like, I mean, when Goldust just throws him down, it's like
Goldust. Like if you're in Mero's mind, like you're partnered with this guy who causes your team to lose on a DQ, then he punches you and you just like stand
right,
there.
you just take it.
Yeah.
It's your rival in the ring who just whipped you again for the 30th freaking time. You know what I mean? Like in the last 8 months.
Oh, I mean, I think this may be like the transition to where they finally stop like presenting Mero this way. But yeah, it's a rough.
This is one set of guys I wish stayed at 90s this feud. Like we're done.
Yeah.
Like I mean, Hunter and Mero have fought so many times, and Mero has never gotten over on him. You know, King is fine in this role, but it's like, since when is King the tough guy shielding? Like, why is he in there taking bullets for Helmsley? You know what I mean? Like it just like Helmsley should have hired someone like Muscle to like stand in for him here or whatever. Like it's just goofy. But to your point, we get really 45 minutes a week. Like they have guys, like whatever, like tell them to freaking go. Like go put on a match that is going to wake up the crowd and engage the audience, you know?
This is a long match. I mean, I watched the show second and it felt like this match was 45 minutes.
The whole show is tough as a go home. Anyway, so what you went 2 on that? What did you say in this?
2 1/4. I mean, it's like if you
proficient.
It's weird because like if you look at the bones and what they did, it's okay. It's just I don't know.
Boring. It's tough to come off a Nitro and watch this. Like it's just tough. We see Shawn Michaels and a bunch of fans are at a Raw party in Park Place in San Antonio. We then get a clip of Sid. He's at the Alamo Dome. This is from earlier. He cuts a promo of fighting monsters, and he'll be the monster to take what's his and walk out as a champion. Sid talks about what he's going to do to Shawn in front of his mother, his friends, and Jose Lothario, who should know better than to not get involved this time. He says Shawn will summon all the Mexicans from Mexico. 70,000 of them will know that Sid's look says he's the man, the master, and the ruler of the world. I thought they missed a really good opportunity here that would have been funny to have George and Adam in the background.
I was going to ask you.
I thought that would have been funny. Like, I know maybe they're trying to make this serious, but I think it would have been cool if they were just in the background. Like, that would have really sold the whole stupid thing to do it.
Where were these guys at? They've been here for months and they missed people. I mean, why Sid there so early? Like, what is he?
Well, they're in town for the week, right? So maybe they said come.
So he's got to go to the middle of this empty arena.
He's working out. He's working out the ring. Right. I thought Sid seemed menacing and on edge. It was fine, but like, again, it is what it is. I mean, the Mexicans from Mexico part was classic Sid.
Is that Road Dogg that's with Michaels at the?
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Place. It looks like him. A couple of shots.
Well, it probably wasn't just Shawn. I'm guessing they probably had a bunch of wrestlers there for the party or whatever. Is my guess.
They said they were going to do the shotgun from there. But it just seemed weird. I don't know. I kept meaning to go back because it was like it wasn't while he was doing his promo, but when they cut a couple like here's Shawn in Park Place or whatever in San Antonio.
He was it.
It looked like the real Double J.
Yeah, I don't know if I have it in my notes eventually, but I think they probably just had a party with superstars there. That was a selling point. I doubt it was a Shawn. They probably had a bunch of guys there.
Interesting looking crew that showed up to this party with Shawn. Like, I don't know, like not to be discriminatory, but if you're projecting Shawn as like this, sex icon, maybe might not have hurt.
Some hot ladies there with him,
a couple of gals in that helped the appeal overall.
I mean, I'm sure there's some strip clubs they could have hit up and
could have recruited.
Yeah,
sure.
All right, so we take a break. We go back to Park Place. We get a highlight package on the Sean Sid feud. Back to Sean, who says the monster's out of him, and he may not be as big as Sid, but he'll get in the gutter and get nasty with him. That's how they do it in Texas. Either be nice or kick you straight in the teeth. That's what they'll do on Sunday. Sid took out his wrath on the Lotharios, but he isn't defenseless. He's all man and a yard wide, and his family and friends will fill the dome. And Sid's going to be the most unpopular man in town and fall to HBK. He calls Sid Stalin, which I don't really get. He says he'll be a world champion on Monday morning, as Sid will be finding his teeth in his stool sample. Sean talks about the pressure of his family and friends and says he doesn't let people down. The pressure's been on his shoulders for 3 years now, and he always delivers and is the man no matter who likes it. Vince says Shotgun will take place in Park Place. I thought Sean brought some heat finally. Like I feel like he actually believed what he's saying for once. I didn't feel as forced as most Sean stuff. I think we just need this feud to end and like get on to something else. I think Sean Sid is as fresh as it was in November, has kind of run its course now at this point. Final sell for Sunday by both guys. I like that they did it. Like you needed kind of the dueling promos. We're done with them interacting. So I thought it was a fine one last chance to hard sell them people on checking out the show.
Yeah, I don't think the powerbomb to Pete necessarily added a lot of juice. Yeah, I'm ready for the feud to be over, to be honest. Promo was okay.
Bret Hart comes out. He's limping from the attack on Superstars, and he is wearing jeans, a white button-down shirt, and a black or brownish velvet vest. Terrible look. And I don't know if you know Canadian fashion. I think it's on brand. See anyone from Canada? But I think it's
he's wearing this.
Stands out. We go back to Superstars, where Austin attacked and beat on Bret's leg after a match with the Sultan, and he actually Pillmanized his ankle, which I had forgotten that they did that.
Yeah.
Bret joins the booth, and Honky wonders if Bret's even going to make it to the Rumble. So right in his face, he's basically questioning if he's going to be there. We take a break. We get more clips of the Raw party. Vince hypes the Rumble. We go back to Superstars 2 weeks ago, where Bulldog interfered and cost Austin a match against two jobbers. So do you have any comments on any of this before we get to the next match?
No. Go on.
Okay. All right, Rocky Maivia is here. He's taking on the British Bulldog. Bulldog and Mason are in the ring. Rocky jogs out his biggest match, really, since Survivor Series, probably. Bret pumps up Rocky's potential. We get clips of Shotgun where Mark Merrow and Sable got into an argument when Merrow got attacked by Diesel while saving Sable from Honky Tonk, and then Honky stalked Sable and Rocky came out to make the save. Merrow reemerged, and him and Rocky threw down. So you mentioned this could be it probably for Merrow, and yes, I do believe this was meant to be the kickoff of Mark Merrow's heel run that gets aborted due to the injury. But I think we're finally at the end of the real rough first year for Mark Merrow. Big failure. We eased into things with some stalling and test holds, wrestles, I should say. As Vince says Austin has slowed down Bret, but Bret says Austin's just another guy trying to mess with his life and end his career. The WF is a lawless land, and he'll destroy everyone first, and Austin's knees are going to be history. Rocky works the arms. Bret talks about Rocky Johnson and Peter Maivia. He seems very high on Rocky. Honky asks Bret if he can get his knee healed and be an option for Honky's list. And Bret says no comment. Bulldog gets knocked outside. He paces around frustrated. Rocky continues to work the arm. Owen Hart comes out. Bret says Owen needs to leave him alone as things have been better at home lately with them. I thought that was a nice little seed plant for them. Like, hey, we're finally kind of peaceful at home, buddy. Things are maybe on the mend with Bret and Owen. So I thought that was interesting little note for Bret. I don't know if it was intended or not, but I thought it was interesting. Where things go. Owen puts his slammy right in front of Bret, and then he's shit talking him, and then just stares at Bret the whole match like this to make sure he doesn't get up and interfere. Just stares right in front of Bret. Bulldog, I don't know how Bret kept a straight face. Bulldog takes over. He works over Rocky through a break. Rocky's on the floor when we come back. Bret says he just wants to concentrate on the match, but Owen is irritating him. He can't trust him. Owen's great. He's just standing like a statue, just not moving. Rocky comes back on the sunset flip for two. Bulldog cuts him down, cranks a chin lock, gets a delayed vertical. There's this fan that keeps doing an absurd cackle laugh at ringside, and it's so loud over the silence of the rest of the crowd. It was driving me nuts this whole match. Rocky breaks a second chin lock. Both guys get to collision. We get a slugfest. Rocky heats up. He dances like his dad. Rocky knocks Bulldog outside. Austin shows up and takes out Bulldog's knee. Bret tries to get by Owen to tell him what happens, and Owen finally realizes it, and him and Bret both chase Austin off as Rocky wins by countout. Again, usual Raw fare. It was kind of slow, storyline driven. The crowd was asleep. No real excitement at all. The production, the aura, there's no heat soaking in the building. Like everything feels stale. They're not even really sweetening anything either. Like they're not even trying to make it seem fun. Bret was fine here. I thought Owen was funny. Rocky looked good in flashes. Bulldog seems a little bit lost in this role as the face or heel.
Yep.
As Austin torches him. So I went 2 stars. A bunch of stuff happened, but again, just kind of whatever. The crowd is killing this. And they deservedly so. Like it's fine. I'm not condemning them. I'm not saying they're sleeping. They're great matches, but it hurts to have the crowds that are dead.
Yeah, crowd wasn't great. I went 2.5. I thought this had some moments. Bulldog's been interesting. I still would love. I don't know if it's like, we talked about it. We've got bits and pieces on where they were headed for 13, but I would love a deep dive on what was the long-term plan. Like, was Bret going to win versus Shawn at WrestleMania 13 with help from Owen and Bulldog? Because that's what it seems like. Like, you could have had that, and then you could have kind of drifted off where, like, from there, now Bret faces Austin and Owen and
Mike got to go there anyway.
Going there too. I mean, they teased a lot. Like, I really like that. Like, when Owen comes out, like, Bret says, like, things are starting to be better. And
even at the end, he doesn't attack. Bret doesn't attack him. He's just like, turn around.
Tells him what it is, and they both chase off. It's like they both have come together. Versus
Austin.
Yeah, it's something I didn't remember. I thought them reconciling happened much more suddenly.
Right.
But
it seems like they're all. I think Austin fucking with them all is going to be the catalyst to bring them back together a bit, or at least make them have common enemy. So when Bret does say, what are we doing? Like, let's get back together. Like, it's not completely out of nowhere.
Right. Bret does say thinks Rocky has more potential than anybody's ever seen in the WWF, which I thought was a good line.
Wasn't wrong.
Yeah, pretty good evaluator. Bulldog's I think one of the interesting ones though here. Like, he's somebody throughout the course of this podcast had a lot of ups and downs, and he's in this feud, kind of quasi feud with Austin, but Austin's also messing with Bret. It's like, where are things gonna land? And he's in the tag with Owen. Like, he feels a little fragmented where, like, he does different
I don't
things.
think at this point they thought Bulldog and Owen were gonna turn. I mean, are you saying that they were gonna turn face and help beat Shawn, or you thought that was gonna kick off a heel turn? Because it really
kick off a heel turn still.
Yeah, because it really feels like they're prepping Bulldog to be a face still. Like, I don't know if they're there yet.
But I think it just feels like going into this show, they still want to present, like, with the way Shawn did his promo, they think Shawn's going to get, like, a hero reaction.
Right.
Now, maybe they thought it would be more like Shades of Grey in other areas, and they were going that route. But they definitely think, like, Shawn's going to be a big baby face coming out of Royal Rumble. I don't know.
I need to revisit Bret's book. Like, there are guys out there I watch the show I know that know the book pretty well. Like, I think Pratt and Marcus and stuff. So, like, I'm curious if anyone watching can remind us in the comments, like, because I think Bret talks in the book about when they decided to do the heel thing. Like, it's time. Because the night after the Rumble, it kicks off a little bit, right? It kind of starts that. So I don't know if they had already planned the double turn by then. So maybe it's over this next week that they start to change their mind a little bit on stuff. Because it feels like they're headed that way by the night after the Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, I still, I don't know. It's interesting to know because I could see it like they think it'll be face Shawn versus heel Bret.
Yeah,
and that's the way they position stuff going forward.
And then what? Bulldog is a face versus heel Austin. That's they do the double turn there.
Maybe, or they,
that was the plan.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, if anyone remembers from Bret's book, I don't remember too if they talk about this on Titan Sinking. I don't know, I'd have to go back and read the
book. All that stuff, like, kind of surrounding this match is actually more interesting than the match.
Yeah, the match is whatever.
But yeah.
All right, the Nation joins from backstage. Farouk says they're going to work to. Oh, good, yes.
Clarence Mason should apply for, like, 100-yard dash at the Olympics. Like, he's at ringside, and 10 seconds later he's back.
He's back here for
like, not huffing and puffing or nothing. I was like, how fast can he get back there?
Farouk says they're going to work together at the Rumble. They're all about unity, and Crush issues a warning for our main event tonight, and that is Crush taking on The Undertaker. The match from your nightmares. Taker saunters out as Vince reminds us that Taker battles Vader on Sunday, and they'll also both be in the Rumble match as well. Shawn is still partying at Park Place. We come back. Honky can't pick the match. He says everyone's on his list. Nation Domination come out, and Taker meets him in the aisle, cleans them all out, throws Crush into the steps. Back inside, Taker's the DDT, drops a leg. We get more Rumble hard sell. Taker's pouring it on. He gets caught up top and crushed by Farouk. Taker recovers. He dumps Crush outside as Vince hypes the Farouk Ahmed Johnson match. Been waiting on that one for a while. It's August. Finally going to get it at the Rumble. Crush snaps Taker across the top rope as Honky says Clarence Mason just got back from Oakland to show respect and support for Ebonics in the school system. Crush eats a boot on a charge, and Taker knocks him down. Crush rumbles back, kicks Taker down, and works at the rope. Crush hotshots Taker on the railings and runs him into the steps. Vader comes out to watch. We get the Starburst rewind, which is Austin attacking Bulldog from earlier. After the break, Crush is choking away as Vince hypes shotgun. So now he says, before they kept saying it was at Park Place, now he says it's at Denim and Diamonds, which is, I don't know if that's in Park Place or a different spot. So it's like they changed where it's going to be over the course of the episode, which is weird. Maybe they had said the Park Place stuff, or maybe Denim. I don't know where it ends up being. Whatever it is, like maybe one was pre-taped and the other they cut in. That's actually a pretty infamous shotgun too. Maybe we'll talk about it next week, I guess. Yeah. But that's with Terry Funk and Austin fighting.
Right.
Crush works a chin lock. He gets a backbreaker, misses a fist off the middle rope. Taker heats up into some strikes and a flying clothesline. Crush gets a belly to belly, loads up the heart punch. Taker blocks. It's a very weak choke slam. And the Nation come in for the DQ. Vader comes in as well. They all beat down Taker until Ahmed Johnson comes out, and that's after 2 Vader bombs. Ahmed makes a save, gets swarmed and beaten down. Farouk hits him in the kidney with the 2x4. Whatever. I mean, it had some energy. Taker's trying to pace up. Crush is crushed, though. This environment, you're not going to get much. Vince really, really worked hard to push the Rumble at the end. But things just need energy. They need a fresh look if they want to have any chance in this war. Like, this is not going to do it. And I think they're starting to know it. Like, because we do start to get some different shit coming up. And I think they realize now, like, we got to shake things up. This is not working. Taker's got a big night on Sunday. No shock here. Just a pre-Rumble brawl. 2 stars.
I went 1. I thought this was dreadful. A lot of choke fighting. When Taker hits the choke slam, one of Crush's legs doesn't even get up off the mat. So, great effort from him. In the middle of the match, they talk about, like, Vince on commentary says, like, Crush is like, shut up with that jailbird shit. Vince is like, he's not going to stand for everybody chanting jail. I mean, I don't think there was one person that's chanting jailbird. Like, I heard nothing. Like, this crowd was and I think they were in the tomb with the Undertaker. Like, it was bad. Ending was fine, but as a match, I thought it was dreadful. So 1 star.
All right, so that does it. We are at the 1997 Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so what's your hype level, real quick? It's an interesting show. Like, there's stuff going on, but it feels like I'm not like super excited about anything.
I would say super low for the undercard, but I think I'm high for the Rumble because they actually have a sneaky amount of talent in there. Like, when you look at the roster, it's pretty deep at the top. Like,
there's guys,
and they're all in it except for Sid and Shawn. So you got Vader, you got Taker, you got Bret, you got Austin, you got Bulldog, you got Owen, you got Goldust, who's hot, you got whatever, Merwin Helmsley or whatever, but there's still talent. Like, you got Ahmed, you got Farouk. Like there's a lot of guys in there, plus whoever the Lucha guys they bring in before going in. You think, okay, maybe that'll add something to it. So like they have guys in there. So I think the Rumble has a lot of unpredictability. You're assuming Bret's going to win, I think, going in. So we'll see, but I would say the Rumble match, they've done a good job, and just the idea of the Rumble with this much talent seems exciting. I would say the undercard has not been built great.
Yeah, it feels
besides Farouk and Ahmed.
Like, even to this point in Royal Rumble's history, it still feels like they're presenting a lot just based on the caveat that it's the Rumble match itself.
Right.
Like, I remember the 98 hype being pretty good, and then obviously like 99 like has so I think in my head, and we'll see if this plays out going forward, but I feel like this is kind of the last Rumble where it's just like, all right, like we're kind of step walking in, and then
I would say this has been maybe since King of the Ring, their best built show. I mean, Survivor Series is built fine, but that was really on the back of 2 matches. Like, I feel like this is the best the promotion has kind of felt, even though we're bitching with the staleness. That's more the presentation. But I mean, as far as like talent and potential, I don't think it's felt this high in a while. As far as like,
maybe. I mean, I definitely was more pumped for Survivor Series, I think. Even
Yeah.
though I had some issues with stuff.
Yeah.
It's probably just based off of Austin
right, Austin Brett
Hart and then the main, I mean, Sid versus
and Taker
Shawn.
Mankind. But we were kind of done on that. by
Taker
that point.
Mankind, I was done. So that's actually a negative on that end. But I don't know. We'll
It just
see.
feels like this is the most like, okay, like there's at least something potentially
I mean,
there
Farouk
if they can
versus
get the
Ahmed
presentation
should be
better.
good.
Right,
You
there's
know,
excitement
like
for
it's
that.
been built. Yeah.
There's at least something going on, I guess, you know, for the first time in a while. Like you look at some of those shows throughout '96, a lot of it where it's just like, okay, maybe this will be good, you know, besides the main event. So
Right.
you were hoping for Shawn to deliver for most of '96. Like that's what a lot of the pay-per-views are built on. That and Taker Mankind.
Yeah.
All right, match of the night. Grossly enough, is Goldust and Mero versus Lawler and Helmsley.
Yeah, I did my Via versus Bulldog.
Moment, I went with Nation and Vader attacking Taker after the match. I mean, there wasn't much else moment-wise.
Do you have our spreadsheet pulled up?
Yeah,
I can't even remember what did I do Sid promo or did I do the
You have Sid promo.
Yeah, okay. It was if that tells you not a lot of super highlights on the
MVP, I went Vader. I thought he looked pretty good beating the shit out of Taker at the end. Like he drops the 2 Vader bombs on him and looked strong going into their match.
Yeah, I think I just went Bret Hart. I don't know what it was.
No debuts, no shots fired, no dropped angles. I went 4 out of 10. I mean, this is not a good Raw.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to say it has been that long, but December 23rd, I had 3.5. So,
Yeah.
So it's we're still in shaky grounds. Like I'd like to say this is the worst one, and this is it from here. But I know there's a couple of infamously bad ones that, you know, change everything, right? So we'll see how those hold up. But we got different stuff coming. We got the night after, which is pretty exciting. We got the Skydome Raw, which is interesting. We got the Germany Raw, which is interesting. Like, so we got some different stuff coming, at least the Manhattan Center, and everything. Thursday Raw Thursday. So like, there's at least shit that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I went 4.5. Like, this is one of these like inoffensive Raws, but I think it's also one that was carried by it was only an hour too.
Right.
So it was like, all right, like I'm done with it. So that's what it was.
All right. So best show obviously is Nitro, Guerrero Malenko, best match, best moment, DDP, Tax NWO. I mean, Nitro, obviously, better commentary. Star of the night. I mean, we were kind of all over the place on this.
I'd go Giant, I think.
Ratings winner, obviously, Nitro. What was that?
Yeah, the ratings were a little interesting. I mean, Raw's up. It's only 0.2, but they're from 2.1 to 2.3. Nitro went from a 3 to a 3.4. So they won by 1.1. The previous week they won by 0.9. So you know, I mean, they
both were up with a gap.
Yeah,
I mean,
both were up. So it's. I don't know if that would have been necessarily celebrated as a good Nitro rating or not.
Was the week before the Sugar Bowl? Did that hurt that?
Yeah, let me see. I think the Sugar Bowl actually would have been January 1st.
Oh yeah, right. They didn't do the Monday yet, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, and NFL was done. It was in the playoffs. So yeah, I don't know. Just whatever. Maybe just the combo, the go home Rumble plus Nitro being pretty good the week before.
Sugar Bowl was January 2nd. So
okay. All right. So that's it for that. So we got some big episodes coming, Chad. So in 2 weeks we'll be back with Royal Rumble 1997. In a month from now, we're going to hit the big Nitro and Raw. That'll be a fun one because it's a Raw, then after the Rumble's good. And then the big Nitro from Chicago.
Could be a very competitive episode as far as which show we like better. I haven't watched either, but it seems like it could be.
Some big stuff happens on that Nitro as well. And then we get the Clash and then Sold Out. So our next 4 really lined up nicely to be big episodes. Be fun to dig into for sure. Check out everything here at the North South Connection. Follow us across all social media, as well as to subscribe here on YouTube. Listen on any podcast app. Until then, smell the napalm, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.